Hey guys, just gonna wait a few more minutes for people to hop on. Still see people jumping on. Hope everybody's doing all right. Feel free to post in the chat. And just really how this is going to go is we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So if anything comes up that you may be interested in or you want some clarification on, I'm here to help any way that I can. If I don't have an answer for you, I promise you I know a lot of folks in this field that can get you an answer. We'll go ahead and reply to you in email if I can't get you the answer that you want. So feel free to fire it away. If you want to just type it in there and I can answer them at the end, or you can just type them in at the end, whatever works for you. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and kick it off. So thanks for joining, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, to come in here and listen to me talk about this. It's super important to me because I just see so many people being ripped off. So many people that, are being sold these quick fixes, these magic pills, these crazy diets, these, instant motivation stuff, do this one thing. I will give you a secret that majority of you, not every one of you, will respond incredibly positively to, and it is a magic pill. There is actually something that exists out there because of the way that we've lived now, because of our environment, things like that. There's actually something that I would say probably 75% of you from taking this one thing can have amazing results. I'll cover that towards the end of the webinar. If you guys hang out with me towards the end of the webinar, I'm going to buy your love. I will give you a gift at the end just for hanging out and checking in. So take a look at what that is. But without really taking any more of your time, the science of motivation, how to start doing the things you should be doing. I know that most of you came on this webinar because there's times in your day that you wake up and you're like, I know I need to be doing this. But for some reason, it eludes us. We don't end up doing it or whatever. So, we don't jump head first or we just hit the snooze button or we, grab the cell phone instead of going to the gym, or we don't do that task at work and we'd rather go and chat by the water cooler, But the thing is, I'm here to tell you, it's not just your fault. It's not as simple as you just decide to do something in your mind and then you don't do it. Guys, that doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. Our human and animal sides, they battle back and forth. And when your animal side is winning, motivation is not going to be optimized. You're not going to be doing the things that logically you should be doing because emotion is driving you into other directions, right? Emotion could be driving you to eat ice cream even though you don't want to and you want to lose weight, or emotion is driving you to procrastinate and on a project, even though you want to get on top and pace properly, but for some reason, something inside of you is keeping you from doing it. We'll cover a lot of those secrets in this webinar. And there's one massive difference. It'll be the third component that most people do not cover when it comes down to motivation. I will give that to you towards the end of this webinar. So let's jump in. First, talking about, the agenda. I'll cover a little bit of who I am because it's important for you guys to understand, that the person that's talking to you has experience, has done this thing personally themselves, turned my life around, but also has done it for many, hundreds of other people. I've worked with over 300 different clients, over 10,000 hours of coaching. So it's not necessarily about me, but it's for you to understand that the information I'm providing for you is credible and it comes from a reputable source. So then we'll dive into understanding components of motivation, right? We'll discuss mindset, we'll talk about skill set, and we'll talk about that body chemistry component that most people usually miss. And it's so important and so vital, and it will help you a ton in overcoming a lot of the problems you may be having with motivation. And it will really show you how it may not be your fault, or at least not all your fault. And we'll talk a little bit about application of each component. I'll give you that magic pill that, is really going to help you. And then I'll give you the gift that I promised towards the end. So a little bit about myself, right? Who am I? I wasn't always this hippie guy with long hair. I was a different person many different times in my life, 33 years young, but I feel like I'm way older because you see this little one over here, she's 13 now. So having a 13-year-old will definitely age you. And some that have teenagers and, people that are older now and they've had teenagers, you guys understand that. So this is my family, right? This is my wife, my little one, Scarlett, my oldest, Riley, and this is Oakley. He wasn't in a picture when we all got baptized, and it was an amazing experience. We all just decided we want to do it as a family, so we did that a couple of years ago. And Oak was only born 4.5 months ago. He's my fat baby. I know he's a little chunky, but we think that chunky babies are healthy. We don't want him to be malnourished. So he's a great, fun guy. This is me in the Marine Corps. And this is really what started my journey of becoming a motivated individual, somebody that went from a drug addict and heavy drugs, guys. I lost 25 pounds one time around my 18th birthday in 2 weeks because I was doing that many heavy drugs. And it was my wake-up call. So then I got a wake-up call, and I got in, and I went to the military. And this is me running with a guide on over here. And I changed. Those 3 months, I completely figured it out and changed my life. And I'm talking about a complete 180. And I graduated #1 recruit out of 363 in my Marine Corps class. It took numerous meritorious boards, took numerous competitions to get there. It wasn't easy, but I was able to do it because of the principles I'm going to share with you. And then this is my corporate me, right? Before the long hair, I had a professional job, worked in an office, did all these things. I worked in the health and fitness industry, managed, high level fitness clubs and things like that. So been lots of different versions of me. And I finally came to a place where this is just me, guys. I like just being me. I don't want to be this special, amazing looking person. I just want to look like an average Joe, perform at my highest performance, but I don't need to be flashy. I kind of gotten over that, I don't need the suit. I don't need all these things anymore. Now I just get a t-shirt, right? Maybe look like a scrub, but if you judge me by my appearance, we probably shouldn't be friends anyway, because that's not what I pick my friends based on. But really, what am I about, right? My mission is to help 10 million people to realize their potential by impacting their mind and body in order to create a more humanly sustainable world. I realize that it's a big number, but I think I can do it because the mission is so important. When your mission is just so vital to success of humanity, then it matters. And the reason I focus so much on sustainability is because my dad left this earth at a very young age of 45, and stress killed him, and he was living in an unsustainable way. So I just want you guys to understand this is what it's about. This is why I talk about everything that I talk. I want you to do better than my dad did. I want me to do better than my dad did. And I want our children to learn how to live a life that is better than what we're living right now, because we're going downhill very fast. So jumping in, right? Mindset of motivation. Probably the most common thing that people talk about is how you should think. What kind of thought processes you should be having in order to accomplish the things that you should be, we want to accomplish. So connect to the why behind your goals, right? That's the first one. And this is not new, guys. This should not be new. We've seen Simon Sinek talk about the why factor, and, everybody talks about the purpose and kind of that deep-rooted passion that we may have. It is absolutely important. And the reason it's important is because our motivation is not driven by logic. Our motivation is driven by autonomous system, something that just inside of us that exists. And it's controlled by more of our animal side of our brain versus our human side of our brain. Yes, we can help it with the logic, but emotion drives it, right? So it's our lizard brain, our primitive brain, that creates action and reaction and things like that. So because logic doesn't drive it, we have to keep our emotion in a good state. We have to keep our lizard brain not too overactive, so that way we can act. Otherwise, it can shut down in fear and not act on things that we know we need to act on, right? So a lot of people talk about, the 5-second rule and things like that. That's what it has to do with. You got to act before your body stops you from acting. I'll talk about that in a sec. But then we got to talk about gratitude for the process. This is probably one of the most important things that I tell people about motivation. If all you do is look at outcomes and all you do is chase outcome, and you don't find pleasure in the process in itself, tough battle, guys. It's a going against the grain. You're going uphill, and it's just not the best route. You need to find a way to appreciate the hard work that you're putting in, not just appreciate the reward that you're getting out, because sometimes those rewards may not be quick. Sometimes those rewards may take a really long time for some of the things that you're focusing on to be motivated with. So one of the things that I do is I like to do a play on words. This was a thing that my boss taught me. This is one of my mentors many, many years ago. And, I was kind of complaining and down in the dumps. And he pulled me in his office and he told me a story. He's like, Anton, his name was Ryan. And he sits down and goes, Anton, I just want to share with you something that was life-changing for me. And I was in a similar state that you are right now. I was sitting in an airport, and I have been gone for 265 days out of the last 365 from my family, from my children, from my wife. And I was just sitting there, and why am I doing this? This is stupid, feeling negative, feeling sorry for myself. And I didn't like the way that I was feeling. I didn't like the state that I've put myself in over the last few months, just pondering negatively about it, because he was just looking at the outcomes. He wasn't looking at the journey. So he said, Anton, I was sitting there and I realized I have to go on this flight. I have to go to this trip. I have to deliver this presentation, this training. And he was just weighing down on me. And then I started thinking about all the people that are less fortunate out there, people that don't have jobs, people don't get to teach and educate other people to be better versions of themselves. And he started to change how he talks to himself about the things that he has to do. And it was a very subtle yet monumental shift for him. And he went from saying, I have to do something, to I get to do something. Just say it with me right now. Think about something that's weighing on you, whether it be a big goal, going to the gym, losing weight, performing at your work, getting your business to a certain place, whatever it may be. Think about it right now, right? And all you're thinking about is how you have to do it. But then right now, sit down and say, I get to do this, because there's many other people out there that may not be able to do this. And see how your shoulders drop, your chest loosens, your body just gets a little bit more relaxed, because you're feeling good from being able to focus on that process and getting to do it. It's special. Whatever it is you're going after, you're not trying to be motivated to do something bad. You're being motivated to do something good. And that's how we need to focus on. That's how we need to feel, is just we get to do that. Smile. I don't care how tedious the task is. I don't care if it's taking the trash out first thing in the morning so your wife is not upset. You have legs that allow you to go out there and do that. And it just changes everything. Such a small perspective shift, but it does a lot for our body and our mind. The other thing that we need to think about is motivation. Our science has said for a long time that the good old-fashioned stick and carrot motivation does not work. This is why I don't believe in cheat meals when it comes down to nutrition, as an example, but I'm not going to get into that right now. What I want to show you what does work. Intrinsic motivation. And the difference is, one is internal, one is external. One is stick and carrot. So if you do something good, you get a reward. And if you do something bad, you get a punishment. But the problem with that is, think about it. In order to elicit the same response, it takes a greater amount of that reward or punishment in order to do that, unless we're working in something very simple, like a factory conveyor belt type of thing that doesn't require outside the box thinking. So what do we do instead? If we know that science has told me that our motivation is reduced when the reward or punishment is presented in a stick and carrot motivation type of thing, what is that intrinsic motivation? Daniel Pink did a great job in his book Drive, covering some of the studies that have been done since the 60s. And it talks about intrinsic motivation. There's three main components to this. We already actually covered one. I just didn't say that's what it was. That why statement is your purpose. We as human beings, we are naturally driven by purpose, by thinking of accomplishing something bigger than us, helping, supporting, giving, making a difference, making an impact, leaving a legacy. All those things is something that you need to focus on when you're thinking about what you're doing. It's not just about you. It's about your family, your kids, your environment, your world, whatever it may be, all brothers and sisters that are humans out there like you. Then from there, we have our mastery, right? So I said, chase your mastery. And that's innate desire to be the best at something or to be great at something. It feels good to be really good at something. Notice how we naturally gravitate towards the things that we're already good at. But that's where a lot of us just kind of get to above average and stop. Stop wasting your time on trying to correct all your weaknesses. Start focusing more on improving your strengths. Because I'm an identity coach, so I'll touch on this real quick, but there is something within you, I promise you, I guarantee it, that you could be the best in the world at. Just that one thing, not everything. This thing that everybody says everything's possible. No, it's not. I can't dunk. I don't care how much I work. I'm not going to dunk a basketball, so that's not true. But there's something in you that you need to uncover if you haven't yet, that you can be the best in the world. And you chase those mastery skills. You don't focus on just being average and bringing your weaknesses up above population average. Focus on making your strengths get above and well beyond what most people can, because your experience, your uniqueness, your skill sets allow you to do that. And they just feel good. And the last one is our autonomy, our ability to control our own path, our ability to do things our way. This is why entrepreneurship is becoming so big these days, because people want to do things their way. They want to help the world. They want to be masters of their craft, but they want to do it their way. So chase those things in the process and watch how you get motivated. As an example, maybe you want to be motivated to work out, right? That's a very common thing. Lose weight, whatever it may be. Don't just work out to lose weight. Chase workouts to become the best at a certain lift, to become the best with strength in your family, the best at endurance in your friends group, whatever it is. Like, compete, but also compete with yourself. Become the best version of yourself. So from there, we get into growth mindset, right? This is something that I believe it's Carol Dweck, that she's a psychologist, that introduced it in the book Mindset. But we've talked about fixed and growth mindset a lot in our society as of late. But we just need to understand what you are now doesn't have to stay that way. You know how hard it is to try to change when deep down inside you feel like, I can't be better. I'm as smart as I'm going to get. I'm as motivated as I'm going to get. I'm as fit as I'm going to get. I have all these things against me, my genetics, my family history, whatever it is. Tough. It's very challenging because you need hope to be motivated. If you don't have that glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, you're not going to go on that journey. You're going to just stop and sit hopeless in the bottom of that dark pit that many of us get into. So understand, your brain is adaptive. It's called neuroplasticity. And you can rewire yourself from being a negative person to being a positive person. If you're negative right now, don't beat yourself up. That's our natural human animal instinct, because we are realists, we're pragmatics, we kind of avoid danger. We don't want to take risks because bad things can happen. And our lizard brain fires up and says, danger, don't do that, you can get hurt. But if you see that hope at the end of the tunnel, you're going to change how you act. So understand, what you are today doesn't have to stay. By doing the right things, you can change that. I went from a drug addict to a motivated guy. I went from somebody that was a meathead, was very stubborn, very dominant personality, to become a yoga instructor because I wanted to be more zen, more grounded. And through a 200-hour class in 8 weeks, I was able to actually change it that fast. And it modified who I was based on the things that I desire to be. So understand, if you're not there, another concept that I will introduce to you is, once again, it's a play on words. Don't say, I'm not good at this. Use the words not yet. When you say not yet, you're telling yourself that in the future, you can accomplish something. Just need the right work and skill sets right now to get there. One of my favorite speeches I've ever heard, and actually I try to mimic his approach. I think it was Matthew McConaughey that delivered it during one of the Oscar speeches, and he talked about his hero is himself 10 years from now. What's the beauty of this? Let's just break that down. What's amazing about it is that he is able to chase himself ongoing. He never gets there. He keeps moving because he's always 10 years away from where he is now. And it's something that he can do because it is him 10 years from now. So that's a cool concept to think about. I'm really grateful he shared that because it actually impacted my life quite a bit. So that's kind of the mindset of motivation. Now we're going to get into skill set of motivation. And there is just some understanding that has to happen. So how we set goals is incredibly important, guys. This is where a lot of people go wrong, and they're wondering, why am I not motivated? I was inspired to go on this journey to get started, but now I'm not really taking action because your inspiration was at a wrong time. It was set up in the wrong way, and your goals are not set up to progress and create what's really important, a winning momentum. You have to create this winning momentum. Just like when, in sales, or if any of you guys do sales, when you get people to say yes a bunch of times, they tend not to say no. We kind of create streaks for ourselves. So when you start to create many small wins, they build into big wins, and losses just don't happen because you're so motivated, because you believe in yourself. That confidence is there, and you've build one goal on the other versus just trying to go and shoot for the moon. And if you miss, you land among the stars. This is what social media will have you eat up. Because why? Because it's very easy to appeal to your emotion. It's very easy to get you to hit like, comment, oh my God, it's so inspiring. But it's not what behavior change will have you do. So if you just want to get started, by all means, set these monumental, huge goals and believe in yourself, and that's great. But if you actually want to finish, then do a proper progression. I'm not telling you that big goals are not to be done or not to be set, but they don't start as big goals. They start as small goals. And what I'll tell you is, you start small, think big, and move fast. And that's how you go through these goal progressions over and over. So I'll give you a quick breakdown. Before you set goals, everything I'm going to teach you right now comes from behavior change. That's my specialty many years ago. And that's what I focus with a lot of my clients to this day, because it's not good enough just to get you to change right now. I want you to change now, maintain it a year from now, and not impact your mental or physical health 10 to 15 years down the road. That's what true change is about. So we have to start with approach versus avoid goals. Approach goals are going to be if you're trying to go towards a positive, and avoid goals if you're going to be trying to avoid a negative. So I deal with a lot of health and wellness stuff with nutrition and things like that. So when I see people try to diet, I hate diets. I hate even the word, but I use it because people, understand it. They usually say, I'm not going to have this, and I'm going to avoid, say, sugar or carbohydrates, right? As human beings, we want what we can't have. Think about that boyfriend or girlfriend back in the day in high school, right? You may not even like them anymore, but they broke up with you first. What did you do? You started wanting them. You started to wanting to be with them because you couldn't have them anymore. So why in the world are we doing this with behavior change if the same response occurs in our body? So instead, chase a positive. So what I would tell you is don't think about no carbs, no sugar, if that example. I would say chase your fiber, chase nutrients, and get lots of different colors. Guess what? Now you're filling your body up with good stuff that's going to help your body perform and be energetic and have good cellular health. And you're also leaving less room for other things. You're also subduing your hunger, and now those cravings are not there. And we're also not telling you mentally you can't have something, so now you want it. That's why diets don't work, guys. If you look at a cycle of a dieter, if motivation is what you got on here is for dieting, if you look at diets, usually up and down, up and down. But if you look at a plot of an average dieter, and I'm going to say an average dieter because there's those 10 to 25% of people that do succeed, but they usually go up and down, but it's a steady climb over a decade. So it just doesn't work because it's just a wrong approach, the wrong skills are being utilized. Then from there, make your initial goals be behavior focused. What does that mean? It means that it's a choice. It's not based on the outcome. It doesn't mean that you went and put an X amount of work and Y amount of time and got a Z result, right? It's just you're going to go make an X choice Y amount of times, right? That's it. The outcome is irrelevant. So when I talk about stress management often, right, the big piece of health, I focus on, right, being present and meditation. That's huge. One of many components of stress management, but I'm not going to dive into that right now. But what do most people do? Okay, I'm starting out. I'm going to go and I'm going to meditate for 30 days straight. I'm going to do 20 minutes and I'm going to be in perfect Zen and I know I'm going to change my life. Not going to happen. It's just too many changes asking at once, because when we ask you to change one thing, you have an 85% statistical probability of making that change successful. The minute you add two things, it drops down to 35%. So you can imagine if you're changing three things or more at once, now it's actually below 10%. So why take that risk? What I need you to understand, when you're changing your behavior in order to become more motivated, we're not on a sprint type of schedule. We're in a marathon that repeats things over and over and over, gradually building up. But guess what? 6 months to a year from now, you won't recognize yourself. You look in the mirror and you will not be the same person anymore because you are so motivated. You're accomplishing things you never thought possible, but it started with that one behavior that you built on. And you never go back because the change is gradual but permanent. So start with behavior goals. Behavior goals are usually going to look at about short-term and long-term, right? So short-term, about 1 to 7 days. Long-term, usually about 24 repetitions. And it depends what you're trying to be motivated about. If it's something that you do daily, like exercising or eating well, right? 30 days for a long-term can work. But if it's something that you're doing, for work, say it's a end of the month performance, well, you may need 24 months in order to really execute that fully. So it just varies. That number, it should be 24 repetitions or greater. Now you establish a short-term goal that's based on behavior. You made that happen. Then you made a long-term goal happen, building that winning momentum. So instead of turning that app on, or instead of meditating for 20 minutes a day for 30 days straight, how about we set a realistic short-term goal for you and say, in the next week, you are going to turn on your meditation app 3 times. Notice it didn't say meditate, be in perfect state of Zen, any outcome. simply going through the act and behavior of turning on that app, but you're conditioning yourself. Next week, can we do 4? The week after 5, the week after 6, and then 4 weeks down the road, you're doing 7, but it's a gradual buildup. But notice, I'm still just saying, turn it on, not an expectation. Once you've done that consistently, maybe for 30 days in a row, now you're going to say, okay, now I'm ready for an outcome-based goal. I am going to fall asleep by this point, utilizing meditation and utilizing the app or whatever this service that you use, or even doing it yourself, to be able to get there. Now you're going to set a time and maybe focus on certain change within the short term, and then once again build it into a long term. These are outcome. Remember, the outcome goals need to be smart, specific, measurable, attractive, realistic, and timely. People will interchange those words a little bit from time to time, but they're usually the same. Most people will focus on specific and measurable. That's pretty common. We kind of understand that. But attractive is that why, we already talked about it, but realistic is the one thing that I focus on. Usually with clients, when I'm working on behavior change, I will ask them, what do you think you can do with this focus point? And they'll say, I can do 6 times, right? You know what I'm usually going to say? Let's do it 4. And they know, I can do it 6. Great, prove it to me. But the win is going to come from you doing 4, because I look at them, they've never done that. So now they expect me to do it 6 times. That's optimistic, and I love their excitement. But what I don't want is them to ever fail in this process. So we keep building that winning momentum. So we back it off a little bit, and they go and execute it. And then guess what? They feel good at the end of that week, the end of that month, whatever it may be. And then we build on it, and we celebrate, and we give them a high five versus finding excuses on why it didn't happen, right? So we never go backwards. Now we've kind of set up our outcome goals. And this is what usually people talk about a lot. They're very logic-based. There's not a ton of emotion built in yet. Now comes in the passion goal. Now that you've built winning momentum, when you went from accomplishing small things to now you're accomplishing big things. Now we need something that drives you to accomplish big things, but now we got to bring the emotion. Emotion is so vital to perseverance, to grit, to staying on track, because sometimes winners are not necessarily more skilled, not necessarily more motivated. They simply stay persistent longer than the losers. And that's what I want you to be able to do. So passion goal is something that's big, that drives your emotion, right? So like for me, passion goal is to get my family to be meditating regularly, right? And that's a big thing, trying to get your kids to do that, all that to do. I know that it's going to take time. And all I can do is constantly pull them in slowly, pull them in slowly, pull them in slowly, run through a few approach and behavior goals over and over and over until we get to that passion goal. For you, say we're talking about kind of weight loss or whatever, don't think about losing 30 pounds, right? Think about, I want to take a vacation I've always dreamed of, but I've been embarrassed to get in a bathing suit. I don't feel comfortable, right? I don't want to be on the beach and wearing a t-shirt because I'm uncomfortable myself, so I don't take that vacation. But if that's your motivation, put that right in front of you. Better yet, buy a ticket. Buy a ticket, give yourself plenty of time, build out a plan, and then make it happen. And then build on that goal and go bigger and bigger and keep running through the cycle. All of these goals, though, so far mentioned, they are finite, right? They have an ending. So that means that we risk a potential problem, because what happens a lot of times to human nature, we get close to something and we don't finish it all the way. There's so many different reasons why this happens, right? Fear of success is one. People are afraid. But then fear of failure that's hidden in a different way, because they got close and they're afraid that if they actually fully commit to get there, they may not and disappoint themselves. But there's so many psychological factors that this happens. And just human nature is like, I kind of got close, I lose motivation. It just doesn't drive me as much. But we've said it for a long time in military and just around. It's not horseshoes and hand grenades. Close doesn't count. You have to hit that mark. Otherwise, you're not building discipline. And we're going to talk about this in a second after we cover infinity goals. So how do we keep ourselves focused constantly? We have to pick a goal that we can always improve in, where we can put in the work, we can run through a few of these approach, behavior, outcome, passion goals, and get closer to our infinity goal. So that's usually performance geared, right? So if you're trying to accomplish something in the gym, becoming improving your run time, you can always put in the work and improve it, increasing your strength, increasing, your performance in something else, being able to do something with your body. If it's something for work, improving your closing percentage, becoming the best closer in the country, in the company, the best you can possibly get, because you can practice more and keep improving. But if you just say, I'm going to get to this number, that's a finite goal that's not going to keep you moving. These are not easy. It's hard to identify because you usually have to run through a few of the cycles of getting to passion goals to really identify what is this infinite goal that I want? What is this I really want to go after? So for me, it's to be the healthy I possibly can. That's my infinite goal, to set an example for my kids, for people around me. But guess what? There's always room for improvement, especially when you start looking at blood chemistry. That's what I love chasing. I like looking at my labs and looking at my numbers. I went put in work. My testosterone got a little bit better. Or even comparing to an average, right? Of course, over the years, it's going to start to come down. But if I compare against the average of the population in the world, now I can say, look at how I keep improving and keep being above average by this amount or this percent or whatever. So really think about what could be this infinite goal that you pick, and watch. Once you've ran through a few cycles and you got there, you're going to become so motivated because you believe you can do it and you've done it. You've got the skill sets. Then comes in the discipline, right? In the military, most people think about military discipline and they kind of think about, military guys come out, gals and guys come out very disciplined. But why does it happen? I would say one of the biggest reasons is the 5-second rule that I think it's Mel Robbins talks about, right? She says that our brain basically has 5 seconds. Our body has 5 seconds to act until our brain shuts you down and says, nope, this is not going to happen. We usually go on autopilot. And when we change something like that, we have 5 seconds to implement it. Our brain's going to go back to autopilot and say, we're not doing it. That's something new. So how does this connect to the military? Instant response to an order. Without a thought, without analyzing it, you just act based on what they said. That happens in boot camp. And you get in there, you get yelled at, they destroy you. I'm not complaining. I love boot camp to death. Obviously graduated #1, but there's some games that are tough. This one time, probably the grossest thing I will tell you, and just to kind of make you understand how important discipline is in the military. Walking down the street, right? We did everything at 100%. I'll cover this again in a second, an example. But we're walking down the street, and a person spits on the ground in formation. Drill instructor was all the way in the back of platoon, and all of a sudden they run up and they start just blasting this recruit, and they're yelling at him and spit flying everywhere. I'm talking about it's gross it is. And he goes, pick it up, put it back. Because what do you mean pick it up, put it back? Everybody's looking at him like, what does he mean? Pick up your spit and put it back where it came from. Wow, the sand covered, sorry for the gross, imagery here, but the recruit picked it up, put it back in his mouth. Why? Because it wasn't allowed to spit on the ground. Now, it's a harsh example, but it's something that needed to be done to drive a point home. Everything we did on an instantaneous response. We didn't have a time to react or think about it, right? So that's what was created within us, and we were able to build that discipline, because when you went to combat and bullets started flying, you didn't have time to think about and analyze things. You just had to react, and had to be built within you. So you can use the same thing by applying that 5-second rule to be disciplined. But also understand, you're not born disciplined. There's not some people that just have it and some people that don't. It's kind of like a muscle. You exercise your discipline. Going to the gym, doing things that you want to do. The more consistent you stay, the more easier it becomes. The less consistent you are, the less you work out, the weaker that muscle becomes. Well, the same thing with your discipline, right? So understand that it's a muscle. Life pace, right? This is where we're going to talk about burnout kills motivation. There's a really direct connection between stress and motivation, and it's an inverse connection. When your stress goes up, your motivation goes down. And it has to do with your chemical wiring, and it has to do with your brain process and all these different things that I'll cover in a sec. But burnout is not just from hard work. It comes from improper pace throughout our life. And believe it or not, it doesn't mean working too hard. It comes from something different. So let's kind of dive into that now. Excuse my doodles here. This is my amazing, artwork. I'm not an artist. I was never an artist. It's probably the most challenging thing I have is I say I'm musically and artistically challenged, but hopefully you get the point here, right? So this is our pace. When you look on this XY axis graph, you have your action cycle and you have your percent output. So say this is something that you have a deadline for, right? We have this deadline in the red here, and we're 25% output, 50%, 75, and 100 of what we're possibly capable of. So the brown line represents the military. This is how we perform. Anything that you did in the military, you did it 100% capability, 100% efficiency, 100% focus, 100% training, whatever it was, right? Even the way that we walked from where we slept to where we ate to where we trained, everything was done to 100% speed and efficiency. I was there for 4 years. I didn't get burnt out. 4 years of constantly being like that. There would be 30-day, 60-day missions where we wouldn't come home at all. We'd be in a desert training, or if we go to combat for 7 months, in some people's cases up to 18 months in some of these services, right? Always constantly high pressure, high stress, didn't get burnt out. Got used to it. Body just gets used to it. Now, I don't advocate for it because at some point, maybe 20 or 30 years of it will catch up. So there is a right way of doing it. And I'll cover that in a sec. Now I'm going to cover what an average person does. And may not be you, but I'm assuming if you're not motivated, which is why you came to this webinar, this is how you tend to do things. We start out looking at our kind of deadline. About halfway to that deadline, we're coasting at 25%. That's that blue line. So we get to that halfway point and go, oh, shoot, I didn't start yet. So now I got to start doing it. So we pick it up, and then we get closer to the deadline. We're like, all right, I didn't pick it up enough. And all of a sudden, we max out, going full blast as hard as we can. You know what the burnout comes from? Burnout ultimately comes from the distance between your upper end performance and your lower end performance, because your body starts thinking this is the norm and this is overdoing it. So when you get up here, you start burning yourself out. But what should we do instead, right? So before I even just say what we should do instead, I'll give you an example, right? I see this in gyms a lot. Most people think that come January 1st, gyms are packed. Doesn't happen. It's usually second or third week. Been in the health industry for over 10 years. I've seen this happen every single year. I used to, manage a lot of trainers, and they'd be freaking out. Oh my God, I'm not finding clients. Where's all these New Year's resolutions? People stopped making New Year's resolutions for health. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's what's happening. No, what's really happening is people set the resolution on the 1st. Then 2 weeks go by and they're like, oh man, it's 14th of the month and I haven't started, and now they pick it up, and then another week goes by and they get more consistent until eventually they fall off because they just got a wrong mindset. But what should we do instead? Somewhere between 80 and 90%. I usually say perform everything you do at 90% of your total capacity. Why 90%? Why not 100%? Because you need to keep 10% of yourself for yourself at all times. And this is why. As an example, I told you guys about my dad passed away at an early age from living an unsustainable way, giving himself too much to his people as a mayor of a city, and stress killed him. What if my dad lived for another 40 years? Instead of 45, he lived 85. Knowing everything he knew and everything he was capable of and all the connections he had, how much more impact could he have made for the last 40 years of his life had he just taken 10% of himself for himself and nurtured his body, nurtured his health, taking care of himself, and recovered from high bouts of stress that he was doing? It's unimaginable what kind of things he could accomplish, especially if you would have seen the funeral of his, how many people showed up because how many lives he impacted. So I give you an analogy, right? This is emotionally makes sense, but I need you to also understand this logically. So right now you may have a 5-gallon gas tank. That gas tank, you're constantly giving all of yourself away. And I love it. You're a giver. Mothers, fathers, whatever. But the problem is that 5 years, 10 years from now, by constantly giving 100% of yourself away, that gas tank is going to shrink. Your capacity is going to shrink because you just can't do that. It's impossible. Trying to drive your car on red line, revved up all the time, eventually is going to break down. Or its ability to perform at a higher speed is going to break down. So now 1-gallon gas tank, you're still giving 100% away, but it's only a gallon. What if, when it was still a 5-gallon gas tank, you took just 10% of that gas and invested back in yourself? Now, for the rest of eternity, you can keep giving 90% of 5 gallons away. Which one is a better trade-off? But we don't do that. So many of us put off well-being and self-nurturing, self-love for performance, for chasing money, chasing success, chasing accolades, whatever it may be. But you will never be as successful as you can because you won't have the sustainability in life that gets you to the later years at the capacity that you're capable of being. That's what's important. You may make it there, but you may never be what you're capable of being because you've sucked yourself dry. So that's really what it's about, kind of wiggling up and down here, back and forth, but really staying consistent, somewhere around 80 to 90%. Then getting into the part that most people miss. Here's the reality. Your motivation is not just in your mind. It's not just your thoughts. It's your chemical response. Before you're a thought, you're a chemical response that your brain receives, interprets, and creates action or inaction from. But if we don't pay attention to our chemicals, we're starting off in a bad spot. We're having to overcome a bad thought and try to build a good thought and then act on it. why not actually fix the root cause and fix your chemicals of where this is coming from? So really what we're talking about here is dopamine. Dopamine is kind of known as a pleasure hormone, but we really realized over the last years that it's more of a motivation hormone. It's not really released as much from the activity naturally. It's quite a bit released from precursor to the activity. So say your body, you want to go to the gym and you want to get motivated. Your brain's going to think about, okay, what you're asking me to do, is the reward worth the work? And if it is, the body releases dopamine, we get motivated and we go. It's that simple, guys. It's not just in your head. But here's the problem. What if you're constantly getting rewards like your technology? The worst thing for your dopamine is this thing right here. It's your cell phone. Because every time you get a like, every time you get a notification, every time you get an email, that's dopamine. Somebody likes me, feels great. Why do I need to go work out if I can just make myself feel great with this thing? The amount of work to get pleasure from your phone is significantly less than the amount of work to get pleasure from a gym. So the body starts just to go to the phone versus the gym. So understand that desire to start comes from that dopamine release. And I will tell you one pill that'll help you with that. I don't sell it, so don't think about I'm trying to push something on you. It's just what I use. Focus to continue. Motivation is not just starting, it's more importantly continuing on to something. When dopamine is poor, our focus goes away. So we're not able to stay consistent. We're not able to stay focused and dialed in into what we're trying to do. And that's a problem. So from there, overstimulation. Overstimulation is a problem for dopamine, right? It's not just your phone. It's stimulants like caffeine. Coffee's not bad for you unless you need it. That's the catch, right? So if you're needing coffee for energy, you shouldn't be having it because you have wore off your natural ability to be motivated and energetic, and now you're forcing your body to do that. Imagine it's like a marathon runner that's running down the street, they're getting tired. So what are we going to do? We're going to run up and hit him in the kidneys as hard as we can to get him to keep going. Yeah, they may keep going, but after a while, they're just going to shut down completely. And that's not what we want for you. So busy is the new stupid, guys. It's not just about technology. It's not just about stimulants, but it's constantly being on the go. It's never resting your mind. All the greats in the world know that some of their best ideas come from doing nothing, where they just sit and think about their day, think about what's to come, but in a calm and analytical state, not always being busy, not always having, something in every 15 minutes of our schedule. This hustle mentality that a lot of entrepreneurs are having right now, it's stupid, guys. I'm sorry. Like, I know maybe many of your friends are doing it. Science says otherwise. You can tell me all you want until you show me science. I'm not going to agree with it. I will show you plenty of science that shows you busy is less productive than being effective, because you can be efficient, but you can be efficiently ineffective. And I want you to be efficient and effective. So understand that, it's not just your fault. It's not just all in your head. It is a chemical response. And this is what's going to help you. L-tyrosine is a supplement. Like, I'm not going to give you a link for this. It's just the one that I use personally. So if you throw it on the screen, but it's a precursor to your dopamine. It's basically that gives you the building blocks that are going to help your body to produce more of it and be able to utilize it to perform. So it is that magical motivation pill. Now, not everybody's burnt out with dopamine. Not everybody's receptors are burnt out. Not everybody's just overusing dopamine. So I say 75% of you will probably benefit from this, but it's definitely worth a try. And you'll notice all of a sudden your energy's up, you're feeling good. There's lots of different things you can do as well. B vitamins, magnesium, like lots of different things like that. But really, L-tyrosine is my go-to when it comes down to motivation. My gift to you guys, it'll be make it a habit worksheet. I'll email anybody that was in this webinar, Richard, for this webinar, a worksheet that'll help you break down how to set goals. It's what I've used with my clients for many years to accomplish many different results, and it creates that winning momentum. But understand, remember what I told you, start small, create a winning momentum in order to go for these big things. Don't set up your mind to go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro or Everest if you've never stepped foot on a mountain. Like, there's time and a place for that. And don't even put it in your head yet, because guess what? Every small win will not feel as good because you keep thinking about this big thing. But celebrate the small wins for what they are and just focus on them for the time being. So, you guys, thanks for joining. The one thing that I want to talk to you about, obviously is what I do. I understand that behavior change is not something that's easy. And I will always give you all the knowledge in the world because I don't charge for knowledge. Knowledge is free. It's the application of that knowledge in a way that creates long-lasting habits that's what I do. So I can help you in two different ways. I can do one-on-one coaching, or I can do a masterclass, my group coaching format. I have one starting on July 8th and it's a monthly kind of subscription. Technically, it's built for 12 months because it's like gradual progress, but you can try it for a month, see how it fits you and it fits your lifestyle. What you get with me, if you do one-on-one coaching or group coaching, doesn't matter. You're going to get a ton of education on stress management. You're going to get education on digestive health, resistance training, nutrition, behavior change, mindset, all those different components, and really a lot of identity sprinkled in there as well. But how it's done is very gradually. I don't believe in throwing the whole book at you and seeing what sticks. That's what people that want to sell you on their product do. And to them, whatever, I'm not here to talk about them. I'm here to tell you that doesn't work. What we need to do is gradual change to give you that 85% success rate by changing one thing at a time. So we focus on changing one habit every 2 weeks. That's doable. That's not too much. It can be a little slower, but I think it's about the sweet spot. 1 week, I've noticed a little bit much. It starts to build up on itself. And we instill these habits. So with those groups, you get a daily email from me. It's meant to be a habit tracker, seeing how you're accomplishing those habits, education on nutrition, resistance training, sleep management, stress, all those kind of things. So that way you hold yourself accountable. You get access to workouts. I'll build workout programs for you and email those to you when the date, you have the due dates for your workouts. We execute them, we check in. So group training, it's a weekly call, once a week, group of like-minded folks. It's much more cost effective. I know that one-on-one fees are expensive, but if people are really serious about making that change, that may be necessary. But at least starting out in a group could be a good option as well. And groups, I just enjoy them more. I'm kind of an introvert. It may not seem that way, but I don't have to talk as much, right? In groups, more people chit chat and small talk. I'll educate all day long, but chit chat, I'm like terrible with it. I don't want to talk about the weather. I'd rather teach you something about your life and how to be better with it. I will also give an offer to anybody that was on this webinar, registered for this webinar, to do a complimentary stress assessment. It's a questionnaire, I forget, like 100 questions, something like that in there, and we go through it and we identify, where do you start to fix your stress? Because there's so many different areas. It's not just in your mind. Believe it or not, that's the most common thing we think about it, but that's actually not the worst kind of stress. You're aware when you're mentally stressed. The other types of stressors, you're not aware and actually destroy your body, motivation, and your mind without you ever realizing it. So I'll go ahead and include my Calendly link in the follow-up email. So if you guys want to jump in and take a look, I'd be happy to give you guys a 30-minute assessment while my schedule is available. And then once it fills up, it fills up. So guys, I just want to thank you so much for joining. What questions do you have for me around anything that I've covered? Go ahead and type them in the chat box. And if anything comes up while I'm finishing up here, feel free to add them. Looks like I got a couple in there. One person's asking, when is the group ending? So it's a monthly subscription, right? You don't have to be subscribed like an electronic fund transfer. You can just give me a payment a month, but it's meant to go 4 weeks at a time. So we're going to go start July 8th after, kind of partied and did our 4th of July shenanigans. And then for a month after that, we reevaluate. You will learn some of the habits. You will learn some of the things, but obviously it won't be the whole thing, but you'll figure out if it's for you or if it's not for you. Most of my clients stick with me anywhere. I think my average client tenure is 2 years, right about there. And the reason it's actually not longer is because 5 years ago I moved to Arizona, and a lot of my clients obviously didn't come with me. I used to do a lot of in-person training back then. Now I'm a lot more online based. So understand that's just what, try it for 4 weeks and go from there. If the one thing, so what is the one thing that I would tell people to work on to improve their motivation? And it's actually not what most people think, because I told you, you're first a chemical response before you're a thought. You need to keep your chemicals in control, and stress is a big one there. So that's sleep. It's getting 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep a night. If you're not there, you're not going to be as motivated as you are. I don't care what any entrepreneur says. I've run on 5 hours. Great. Maybe you'll do that for a while, but eventually you're going to crash. And then you're not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor because your body's so burnt out. So I would say work on your sleep. If you registered for this webinar, you should have got an email from me for my sleep ebook. I'll go ahead and maybe add that into the follow-up email as well. I made it a long time ago. It's nothing fancy, but the knowledge there is accurate and perfect. But I'm just not the best presenter back then, but slowly getting better. So check that out. And looks like I don't have any other questions. Guys, once again, thanks so much for joining, and this has been a pleasure. If you guys need anything, reach out. Like I said, my Calendly link, shoot me an email, Anton@oaktree.live, Anton @oaktree.live is my email. If you need anything, I'll go ahead and help you out. All right, have a nice day.